Welcome to Lunch Break Reviews. Each episode we unpack something from our lunch, whether it's the main course like a movie, TV show, or comic, or a side dish like a trailer or a hot rumor. We check out who prepared the meal, see what others are saying about it, and then take a bite ourselves, breaking it down with the lunch break point system. I'm Bradley Buchan, the self-proclaimed Emperor of Awesome. There is no time to waste. Let's go ahead and open up the brown bag of goodness and see what's on the menu today. And there was a lot to choose from. Whether there's a lot of comics that come out, whether there's some TV shows that have ended or had some cool finales, and a lot of movies came out. So it could have been Lilo and Stitch, however, not. Fountain of Youth is out, which seems really cool. I still want to watch that yet, but I did watch Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. You knew that was what it was going to be. Pretty sure. Okay. Here's a quick synopsis. And it is. Every choice, every mission has led to this. Ethan Hunt and the IMF team continue their search for the terrifying AI known as the Entity, which has infiltrated intelligence networks all over the globe. With the world's governments and mysterious ghosts from Ethan's past on their trail, joined by new allies and armed with the means to shut the Entity down for good, Hunt is in a race against time to prevent the world as we know it from changing forever. All right, some of the creators on this one it is directed by Christopher McQuarrie. You know him from Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning, Fallout, Rogue Nation, Jack Reacher, Way of the Gun. Written by Bruce Geller from Mission Impossible and Mannix. Eric Janderson, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning, and Band of Brothers. And again, Christopher McQuarrie. Man, this dude wrote so much stuff. I didn't even realize it. It's such a good, pleasant surprise when I'm going over these. I'm like, whoa, I like this person a lot more than I thought I did. Obviously, this one stars Tom Cruise from Top Gun, Days of Thunder, all the Mission Impossible movies, Minority Report, and 1,000 other movies. Haley Atwell, you know her, Captain America, or Captain Carter, the Duchess, the Imaginary. Ving Rhames from Pulp Fiction, Bringing Out the Dead, Mission Impossible movies. Simon Pegg from Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, The World at World's End, and Star Trek. You know, Shaun of the Dead doesn't get enough love. Shaun of the Dead is so good. Asai Morales, he plays Gabriel in this, and he is from La Bamba from back in the 80s, NYPD Blue, and yes, he was Deathstroke in the Titans live-action TV series. Phenomenal TV series for most of it. There was one season that was, you can see the wires and stuff like that, but that's all right. Palm Clementine, I'm so bad at pronunciation. I apologize, Palm. She is from Guardians of the Galaxy and Avengers. She's Mantis. You know her, you love her. Holt McCallany from Mindhunters, Fight Club, Lights Out, Shot Caller, so much stuff. Okay, let's go ahead and get into the ratings of all around the web here. The IMDb rating of this is a 7.6 out of 10. Not bad. The Metacritic score, the Meta score is 67 out of 100, and the user score is going to be a 7.3 out of 10. Letterboxd has this at a 3.6 out of 5. Rotten Tomatoes, this one actually did kind of surprise me a little bit. The tomato meter was at 80%, and the popcorn meter was at 90%, and I think that's probably about right. You'll get my thoughts here when you do the lunch break point system, but let's go ahead and get into the taste test. This is what are the critics saying about the movie. And we're going to start with Kevin Carr from Fat Guys at the Movies. He says, the final action sequence is breathtaking and beautifully shot. Unfortunately, you have to wade through a lot of slow dialogue, reiterated plot points, complicated MacGuffins, and music crescendos to get there. Adam Ollinger from Adam Does Movies. By the time Tom Cruise got to show off his final stunt of the movie, I was mentally and physically drained, mainly because this mission is too long, too somber, and almost devoid of the fun, chaotic energy that make these movies thrive. All right. Lauren Bradshaw from Fangirl Freakout says Mission Impossible The Final Reckoning is the weakest of the 8 film franchise, with an unnecessary complicated plot that lacks the emotional arc. It almost feels like they forgot what made previous films so great, the camaraderie of the team. Austin Chronicle. Holy hell, having to sit through nearly 3 hours of Mission Impossible making like Ethan Hunt is the Messiah is not just exhausting, it's a total misread of what makes these movies so fun. What a bummer. And finally, Matt Rodriguez from Shakefire says the set pieces are spectacular and dazzling for any fan of the franchise, but they're not enough to save the franchise from its own disappointing story setbacks. The Final Reckoning is one Mission Impossible I'm not eager to accept. So out of all these, I think I connect most with Adam Ollinger from Adam Does Movies. And I have thoughts on the stunts. I like all the stunts. I think you go to a lot of these Tom Cruise movies for the stunts as well. So I think we'll get into more on that when we get into the lunch break point system. All right, it's time for some viewer/audience reviews. Here's my disclaimer. These reviews are chose based on title alone, and I haven't read them beforehand. So let's dive in together. Please excuse any mispronunciations as I read them exactly as they appear, punctuation quirks and all. We're going to start with Joel Steele. This is a bad review, and it's a 1 out of 10, and is titled simply Exposition, the movie. Incredibly disappointed with the final entry into the MI saga. While grateful for some initial recapping in the very beginning, the constant awful exposition through one of the worst scripts ever just ruined the experience. The long prologue, that is non-stop reflection, stage setting, and flashbacks to the previous films, was obnoxious. It truly felt like nothing of substance took place to drive the plot forward for over an hour. Things just happened for the sake of happening. Characters came and went with sappy, unrealistic dialogue for the entire film. Ran to the bathroom, no worries. They'll recap what just happened and talk about what's coming 3 or 4 more times. Did you love the earlier Mission Impossible movies? It's a good thing they'll be sprinkling in quick cuts of all the best parts of them for almost 3 hours. Anticlimactic and an absolute bore and a disappointment from start to finish. Okay, well, I guess that is what a 1 star would be for you. Any solid points? We'll get into that. Next, I have a 3 out of 10. This is from KC-62170, and they give it a 3 out of 10. And this is titled A Massive Ego Trip. Warning, spoilers. First, let me say I think it's great that Tom Cruise does his own stunts and has been with this franchise for so long. It's an incredible feat. That said, this movie was beyond ridiculous. The unending exposition, the gushing praise from every single freaking character heaped it onto Ethan Hunt like he was a second coming. The constant stripping down of Tom Cruise into his skivvies on his bare chest. The ludicrous timing of every impossible aspect of the plan. Yes, I know it's Mission Impossible, but this one takes it to excess. And the weak-ass storyline. For instance, I don't quite understand the entity chose Gabriel to be his protector. How or why Gabriel even found out about it other than being a supervillain. Did he ring him up on the phone? Did it meet him at a bar and then online chat room? Nor does it make any sense how Gabriel and Ethan Hunt communicate with it. Did the entity make that box? Did Gabriel with instructions from the entity? What did the entity communicate with Gabriel to be his protector, ally, whatever, without the box to recruit him? Couldn't they have just kept in communicating that way? So dumb. The action sequences were over the top. Tom Cruise jumping out of a plane into Arctic waters and immediately being picked up by a submarine crew diving down hundreds of feet into an imploded submarine with nary an issue with then stripping down, a standard occurrence in the movie. In Arctic waters and swimming hundreds of feet back to the surface with absolutely no gear/mask. By the time the biplane sequence appeared on screen, I was bored. Yes, Tom Cruise, we know you like to fly planes. We know you do your own stunts. I don't need another 40 minutes for you to showcase that. I give this movie 3 stars. For 1, Tom Cruise doing his own stunts. 2, the supporting cast who are focused to say some ridiculous cheesy lines and get robbed of more screen time to showcase repeatedly how very important, brave, heroic, and necessary Ethan Hunt is to the whole world 3. Okay. I'm sorry. Oh, whole world. Number 3. 3. The Inuit lady who truly deserves a star of her own because she was adorable. Okay, whatever. Next, I have a 4 out of 10, and this is from B.A.Harrelson. This is titled Mission Improbable. I love these titles. My son told me that there was a lot of exposition in this latest installment of the Mission Impossible franchise, and he wasn't wrong. The first hour was nearly all exposition, including a hilariously bad opening scene in which Ethan Hunt watches a videotape from the president that explains the plot so far. Despite Hunt already knowing everything that has happened, he was there. However, even with all the clumsy exposition, I still found myself completely lost for much of the time. Such as the confusing, badly written techno-babble tosh that passes for a script on this occasion. I guess this mightn't have been so bad had there been plenty of well-choreographed thrills and spills along the way. But the final reckoning is also light on edge-of-the-seat action in comparison with the earlier entries in the series. For a 3-hour film, the number of exciting scenes is very disappointing. We get a brief fight in a wooden cabin, a protracted sequence inside a flooded wrecked Russian submarine that is surprisingly lacking in tension, and then it's a long slog to the airborne finale, which is impressively handled but utterly preposterous. I realize that ridiculous plot twists, incomprehensible high-tech twaddle, and crazy stunts have always been part of the franchise. But in this particular outing, everything is so far-fetched and improbable. Hunt survives hypothermia and the bends with no ill effect, and everyone seems to know how to defuse a nuclear bomb. That is almost feels like parody, right down to the relieved character at the end saying, "He made it. He actually made it." Or some such cliched garbage. 3.5 out of 10, generously rounded up to a 4 for IMDb. If this is the end of the franchise, it's not a great way to go out. Okay, next we have a 6 out of 10. So we got done with the bad. Now we're working our way all the way up to the good. From Fried Fish, and that is fish with a Y. This is called Mission Impossible: The Final Retconning. I love it. Warning, spoilers. I absolutely love Dead Reckoning Part 1, but this is very padded and hurts the first film a little. It's also overlong. After being told that the entity is unstoppable in Part 1, we now learn you can stop it by plugging a USB into a hard drive and then pulling out a different USB drive really quickly. They tell us this on a loop for the first 2 hours, interspersed with shots of nuclear weapons of different nations all ready to launch, but presumably all built in the same factory. As paint jobs aside, they could be interchangeable. I've no insider knowledge of this, of course, but I suspect only the US and Russia would actually paint flags on their nukes. It seems a bit too gung-ho for other nations. Okay. Essentially, the first 2 hours is people telling us that everything is really dangerous, but not much happening. No action, no set pieces, no plot motion. It's all still enjoyable enough as these actors and characters always look like they're having fun, but you could easily cut an hour of screen time and lose nothing. I spent the first 25 minutes waiting for something spectacular to happen so they could jump into that traditional theme tune and title sequence. Nothing came, so eventually they just gave up and ran the titles. Here comes the next foreshadowing of disappointment. The music is by 2 people I'd never heard of using internet handle monikers, and yes, it's nowhere near as good as the previous films as a result. It could have been an AI prompt. Make some Mission Impossible-ish music, please. All right. My real issue comes with all the rewriting and retconning. Remember Briggs from the last film? You thought that was some clever callback to Dan Briggs in the TV show? No, he's Jim Phelps' son. No reason given why, no explanation of who his mother was, but presumably not Phelps. Wife Claire? I've checked, and that actress who played her is only 5 years older than the actor playing Briggs / Phelps Jr. No mention of Phelps ever having had a kid with anyone else. But if it's a convenient to the plot, why not? Except, as I've said, it goes nowhere. This is just one of the many attempts to unify the series and pretend that you had a plan all along. It also includes pretending that the rabbit's foot from MI3 was actually a source code for this AI and not a biological MacGuffin after all. They even bring back the guy from Mission Impossible 1 who was in charge of the data vault, William Dunlow, Rolf Saxon, but I will say that guy earned his place in this film, and that he ended up being my favorite character. So that's one win for the filmmakers from me. Sorely absent is Vanessa Kirby. I'm guessing for no reason other than real-life scheduling. There's a lack of characters generally. I'm still hurt they shafted Isle of Host, Rebecca Ferguson, in the last film too. You'd think they'd at least allude to some sadness she's gone, but beyond a montage of people dying from every film so far, yep, there's no mention at all. Nor is any reverence given when they needlessly kill off Luther, the only character besides Hunt to have appeared in every film. I'd expected after her name being in the titles of the last film, we'd see more from Maria Garinja, but nope, we just get the same flashback here. At least she got paid, I guess. Finally, after 2 hours of meandering, possible we get to the action set pieces. First, Hunt swims to the bottom of the ocean to scavenge from a submarine, which proves along with the opening and handcuffed together thrills of part 1. That the writers have definitely seen Tomorrow Never Dies, and there's still more to mine from it. Maybe Hunt will take on a tech media buried in Mission Impossible. We are just blanking you. Here's another. Finally get an absolute thrilling crawl over a biplane, the likes of which we haven't seen since people were dancing all over them in the 1930s, flying down to Rio. If you survive the first 2 hours, you're in for a treat at the end. All criticism aside, Bad Mission Impossible is still good. Next! Okay, that was a lot. Next, we have an 8 out of 10 from Soham-21358. Extra 2 stars for Goat Cruise and his Daredevil stunts. We don't know if Mission Impossible is truly ending after 29 years, and I hope it's not. Tom Cruise is 62, but still evergreen, still performing Daredevil stunts. What he really needs now is a strong script. He's not just an action star, he's also a phenomenal actor. Just like No Time to Die gave James Bond, played by Daniel Craig, an impressive and emotional farewell, Mission Impossible The Final Reckoning didn't quite deliver that. The action scenes are well executed and visually impressive, but what about the core idea? The franchise has been recycling the same kind of material since 1996. Charismatic Tom Cruise has single-handedly kept the franchise alive through his immense hard work. Personally, as an Ethan Hunt fan, I don't think this is a goodbye we expected. I won't rank Mission Impossible series, but this is one of the least entertaining sequels. Still gave it an 8. I truly hope Tom Cruise will take on more drama roles alongside action in the future. Okay. And I got one more. This one is a 10 out of 10 from Cynthia Felly. And is titled, "This review will self-destruct in 5 seconds." I hope not, because it's probably going to take me longer than 5 seconds to read it. And warning, spoilers. Mission Impossible The Final Reckoning was such an amazing experience from start to finish. The whole thing was a visual and audio feast. The story is super tight and every scene is packed with action and tension. Even though the movie is long, I was never bored for a second. When Ethan fell into the deep sea and when his parachute caught fire, I really thought he was done for, but he survived both times, of course. The CIA still doesn't trust him. He's still being chased by all kinds of people, and he and his team are once again doing these insane, almost impossible missions that somehow push the limits every time. The rest of the team seemed to get more screen time this time, and there were a few cool scenes where it cut between them fighting in their own dangerous situation. Those parts were especially intense and exciting. At the beginning of the film, there was this montage of clips from the past Mission Impossible movies, and it was so lit. At the end, there was no new mission for Ethan. Maybe this really is the end of the franchise that lasted nearly 30 years. Tom Cruise is still killing it both as an actor and doing all of his crazy stunts. He moves like he's still in his early 30s. The fact that he does most of these dangerous scenes without a stunt double is seriously impressive and shows how dedicated he is. I watched the movie at 10 a.m. on the 17th New Zealand time. Because of the time zone, this might have been the first public screening in the world. Wow. That's pretty awesome. Okay. Let me throw out a couple questions that you, after going over the good, the bad, the critic, and the audience reviews, do you agree or disagree with the reviews? Were there any points in the reviews that you didn't think of? Were the reviews actually valid? Or do we just have a lot of haterade? We heard from the critics, so let's go ahead and let's talk about me. Let's break this down with the lunch break point system. And what that is, this is just the lunch break point system is a unique lunch-themed rating system designed to help you decide if a movie or TV show is worth your time. Each title is scored across 5 key categories. It is the taste test, the flavor, table talk, second helpings, and craving more, with 5 points per category totaling 25 points. Bonus points can be awarded for standout elements, think movie fog, Oscar worthiness, or deducted for major missteps, think cringe factor, or sequel baiting. The final score determines if it's a packet or toss it in the trash. A bad lunch can ruin your entire day. And here we go. Let's start with the taste test. This is the initial impact of the movie. What'd you get from the beginning, or what'd you get right after you got done watching it? So for 1 point, I'm going to define this as cold or bland. Took too long to get going or lost me early. 3 points would be decent, not bad, but needed a few more bites to warm up. And for 5 points, instant hit, hooked me immediately. So for this, I'm going to give it right in between a 3 and a 5. So I'm going to give this a 4. Next, the flavor. This is the overall quality of the movie. And so for 1 point, it would be bland, missing major ingredients. 3 points would be tasty enough, mostly sad, but not mind-blowing. And 5 would be a full feast. Everything came together perfectly. So here I want to talk for a second. I'm going to give this a 3. And a lot of it was chopped together for me. It felt like when they went to go make this is Tom going in and saying, hey, I want to do this stunt. I want to do this stunt. I want to do this stunt. I want to go from the bottom of the ocean to in the air on a plane and make it that intense. And now let's do the story. And that's how it was made. So for that, I'm going to give it a 3. Next, table talk. This is the buzz factor. Now, I work at a movie theater. There's plenty of buzz about this movie. So we're going to say, are people talking about it, though? So for 1 point, it would be no one's talking. It's forgettable. 3 points would be a few conversations, some chatter among memes, nothing huge. And for 5 points, everyone's buzzing, can't avoid it, must talk material. I mean, I'm going to give this a 5. I think a lot of people are talking about it. I think I hear more. I hear just as much about this than I do Lilo and Stitch. So at least in a positive way. Next, second help is this is the rewatchability of it. So for 1 point, it'd be one and done. No desire to revisit. 3, maybe later I'd watch it again under the right mood. And for 5 points, absolutely ready to dig in again. So this one, I think it's going to be between a 1 and a 3. So let's think this through a little bit. Would I sit down and watch this whole movie again? I think it would have to be in the right mood to do so. But I'm also not going to be pushing people to watch it as well. I'm like, all right, if you like the Mission Impossible, you want to see how it goes. So I think for that, we're going to give it a 3. Just because I'm going to say I got to be in the right mood. Okay, next, craving more desire for content from the Mission Impossible world. Again, so for 1 point, this is going to be I'm full, no need for more of this. 3 points would be I'd be down for more, but I'm not hungry for it. For 5, starving for more. Give me sequels, prequels, or franchise now. So it's already a franchise. I'm going to lean between a 2 and a 3 here. Because where would I put the point, right? So if I go to a 0.5, I'd be rounded to a 3. If I go to a 0.4, it'd be rounded down to a 2. So again, I'm full. I am pretty full of Mission Impossible, but I really like it. If I don't get anything else, it's not going to hurt my feelings. So I think for that, I would be like a 2.4. So I'm going to round this down to a 2. So let's count this all out. Right now, we are at 17 out of 25. Okay. Now, bonus points. Can we help it out a little bit with bonus points? Get that score up there a little bit. There's several iconic scenes with the stunts, and that cannot be ignored. and along with movie fog. So I'm going to give this 1 point for the iconic stunts, and I'm going to give it 1 point for movie fog. So I was pretty into it. So we're going to give you 2 points there. So we're going to bring this up to a 19 out of 25. Penalties. There is definitely a penalty here, and it's going to be for time for just taking too long. It was too long. It was just too long of a movie. I'm going to give one penalty there. So we're going to end this at an 18 out of 25 points. And so what does that mean? Okay, 0 to 9 will be tossed in the trash. 10 to 14 left it, leave it in the break room. 15 to 19 is going to be a quick lunch. 20 to 24 is worth it, and 24 or 25 more is pack it. Okay, so with it being at 19 or 18, this is a quick lunch. Get in there. It's not so quick as 3 hours, but watch it. It's good. Okay, there we go. Do you agree or disagree with the reviews of the lunch break point system? Let me know in the comments. You can find me on Letterboxd or as Nerd Dad Brad, YouTube on Nerd Positive 1, Facebook at Nerd Positive, TikTok at Nerd Positive 1, and X at Nerd Dad Brad. Okay, I did release a couple of TikToks along with the lunch break reviews. I hit the comics pretty hard. Okay, so here's what I did. I've been starting to put out just the lunch break point system reviews. I did a lot of comics. I think I'm gonna do a couple of TV series this week, so more to come on that. But Bug Wars by Jason Aaron is so good. I did Bug Wars number 3 and number 4 to get all caught up on it, and Bug Wars number 3 is 21 out of 25. Bug Wars number 4 is 19 out of 25, and then I did Gwenpool number 1, and I loved this so much because it felt like I could have my kid read this, my almost 13-year-old daughter read this, and it wouldn't be overly bad. So that gave that a 20 out of 25. So there we go. There's some reviews for you. I hope you like it. So thank you for tuning into Lunch Break Reviews. For more bite-sized reviews of the latest TV shows, comics, and blockbusters, follow and let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to leave a 5-star rating and share the show with someone you want to make a little more awesome. Want to join the conversation? Reach out and maybe you'll be the next guest on Lunch Break Reviews for the next special episode. Have a good day.